What's up, guys? Today I wanted to make a video about martial arts, specifically myths within the martial arts world that oftentimes hold people back from lifting weights or training correctly. So the first one that I would like to address is that heavy weightlifting makes you ineffective and slow. So, coming from a combat sports background myself, this is something I heard very, very commonly. The myth that if you start going ahead and lifting really heavy weights, you're not going to be able to perform as a martial artist effectively because, you'll slow down, your muscles will tighten up, you won't be as flexible as you need to be to throw roundhouses or do complicated jiu-jitsu moves, stuff like that. And it's essentially just not true. When it comes down to it, if a proper weightlifting routine is being followed, not only are you only going to get faster because of it, because at the end of the day, fast twitch fibers are more likely to hypertrophy or more commonly hypertrophy than slow twitch fibers, so you're going to get faster, you're going to get more explosive. But assuming a proper flexibility routine is being followed and proper form is being used in the technique of your lifts, you're going to stay as flexible, if not get more flexible. I mean, I can say that right now, having a proper weightlifting routine and a proper mobility routine attached to that has made me more flexible than I ever was as a martial artist. As a martial artist, I was stiff. I couldn't even roundhouse someone in the head despite being 6'2". All because the stretching routine that we used in my kickboxing classes wasn't actually that effective. It was a lot of static stretching, but we only really focused on a single pose for about 30 seconds, and I never got better as a result of that. The other myth I would like to address is that body weight or any other form of training that people want to name on a certain day is more functional than weight training. Now, the problem with this one, first of all, if you use the word functional, you're probably setting yourself up to not be taken seriously within the training industry right from the outset. But the other thing about that is that this kind of myth implies that the body is aware of different types of resistance, as if your brain or your neuromuscular system can tell that the resistance from this exercise is coming from your body weight and this exercise is coming from, weight that you're adding to a barbell. And that's simply just not true. Your body can't tell the difference between a pull-up or a barbell row, other than the fact that they're using different planes of motion. It doesn't know that gravity and weight is being applied in different ways. So the myth that bodyweight training is somehow more effective than weight training or more applicable to martial arts training just doesn't hold any weight whatsoever. It's just, I don't even know how people attempt to explain that or attempt to hold that belief, because it makes no sense whatsoever. Actually, in that same vein, the reason why I think weight training is often better for martial artists, or anyone in fact, than bodyweight training is because it's more measurable, and you can also use a more effective progression system. With a bodyweight training system, if you're trying to get someone to do a muscle up, especially if they're coming from such a far away place, they're really overweight and they have very little muscle whatsoever, it's going to take such a long and arduous journey to get them to do a muscle up. Whereas with weight training, you can just slowly add weight to the bar every week and get them progressively stronger and help them see the results of it as they go along, hopefully get them less frustrated in the long run. Another one is the long runs or long, boring cardio sessions are the best way to condition yourself for a fight. So this comes under another one of the myths in the martial arts world, that fighting is purely aerobic. So the aerobic energy system is what fighting comes under. And that's also not true, because fighting is very intense, but not constantly. So if you take a look at anything in the professional martial arts world, so you've got boxing, 36 minutes of total fighting in the upper levels. You've got mixed martial arts, 25 minutes of fighting in the upper levels, and all sorts of other sports. And yes, martial arts is an endurance sport. You do need to have a trained aerobic cardiovascular system to be able to handle that sort of time. But the thing is, because martial arts is also so explosive and so powerful, it uses multiple energy systems. So the anaerobic energy system is also heavily used in martial arts. The way to train that is not to do long distance runs or just cardio sessions that last forever. You need to mix it up. You need to be doing not necessarily long runs, but you do need to be doing some cardiovascular based work, but then you also need to be doing more intense stuff like, you know, high intensity interval training. Something that's definitely taken off in the fitness industry in the last few years. The last one that I'd like to address today, possibly one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to people training, especially in commercial gyms and stuff like that, is the use of elevation masks. Now, I really hate elevation masks because I don't think they do anything that they claim to do, and they've attached so many myths to themselves that people are using them out of blind belief, essentially. So what an elevation mask, the concept of it at least, is the idea that a lot of athletes in general train in high altitude environments. The reason they do this is because the lack of oxygen in areas of high altitude encourages the body to create more red blood cells so that it can carry more oxygen during states of exercise. So this is the reason why people use elevation chambers, also why people use blood doping so that they can introduce more blood back into their system, and why they use drugs such as EPO, which encourage more red blood cells to be created in the body. So that's all well and good. Actual elevation training, perfect. Works really well, as long as you stay in that environment for a long period of time. However, an elevation mask, it's not doing that. It's not taking oxygen out of the air, it's literally just restricting your airflow through a mask so you're getting less air into your lungs, essentially. That's not what elevation training is whatsoever. Your body is not going to create any more red blood cells because of that process. You're just giving yourself a restricted airflow and therefore making everything you do a little bit harder. The only thing you'll benefit from using an elevation mask is potentially a placebo effect that's going to make you feel better when you take it off. You know, make you mentally feel like you've got an advantage over your opponent. And you know, at the same time, placebo is powerful. Placebo is medicine in itself. That may be enough for someone to go ahead and win a fight with just because they feel like they've been doing elevation training, and that's fine. But the actual core concept of an elevation mask is rubbish. It doesn't do what it claims to do whatsoever. And even if it did, let's assume that an elevation mask did create an environment of high altitude inside the mask. The reason why it's not going to work for you is because you're only wearing it like potentially 2 hours a week. That's not a long time whatsoever. The reason why people in elevated training environments get such a benefit is because they're actually living up there. It's not because they train there for a few hours a week, it's because they're actually in that environment for an extended period of time, you know, days, maybe even weeks. So that's it for today, guys. I just wanted to address a few topics, hopefully encourage some more martial artists to try a bit more weight training. I am going to make another video on this topic with a sample routine that I think martial artists should try. And any questions, any comments, queries whatsoever, please feel free to let me know down below. Please subscribe and like the video. There's going to be a lot more content coming up in the future. Thanks for watching, guys.